Get ready for Rex Fest. Come witness 5 action-packed hours of pure wrestling entertainment in pro wrestling biggest week, featuring talent from promotions across the United States, including Crown of Maine Wrestling and the return of Fighting Spirit Wrestling. Full cash bar and food available. All this and more for only $125 at the beautiful and elegant Arts Ballroom in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This huge event will also be live streamed, so don't miss out on Rex Fest. Tickets are now on sale at Rex Fest Live. Hope to see you there.
What's going on, Geek Pit? Welcome to another episode of Geeking Out with the Metal Geek. I'm your host, the Metal Geek. This coming Saturday, I will be attending Wrestling Is Now presents Heart Attack. It's going to be at the Queen's Elks Lodge. The main event's going to be Joey Conway defending the belt against Ace Romero. Last show, we sold it out, the Elks Lodge. This show, we're going to do it again, and I can't wait to be there. Not only that, I will be doing the official pre-show for Rex Fest WrestleMania weekend. This is my first WrestleMania weekend. Super excited, and I can't absolutely wait. Make sure you go out and buy your tickets because you don't want to say you weren't at the first Rex Fest. And not only that, we are on the road to 1,000 subs. So make sure you go out and subscribe today because we're at 940, only about 60 away from 1,000. So without further ado, let's give a geeking out welcome to our guest today, Mike. Hey, what's up?
It's about time. It only took us 5 years to make this happen?
It was about 3. I think it was about 3 years because I remember we were on and off talking for a while, and I was like, yeah, you'll come on the podcast, and then it never happened. And then you reached back out to me. I think it was like a couple months to say, hey,
yeah,
you want to, so
yeah.
but it's long overdue. You know what I mean?
Very long overdue. I reached out. I said, hey, man, I still owe you an interview. You still want to do this or what? And we made it happen. Just sometimes life gets in the way and things happen. And but we're here now. So that's what's important.
It's like everything just goes full circle. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
It's like, oh, well, we'll meet again somewhere. And then we ended up meeting again, just doing this podcast. And that was
absolutely.
But we're doing it. So,
absolutely. And I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So how'd you get your start in the wrestling business, Mike, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit further because my time in the wrestling business wouldn't have happened if I didn't go to a friend's basketball game back in 1995. And actually, anybody that was on my Facebook feed today, they saw I actually put up a post of the gym from my old high school. A friend of mine had posted a picture of it. He was doing an event there, and he had put up a picture of the gymnasium, and it really hit home for me because I realized, where everything started for me. And it was at Frankfurt Schuyler Junior Senior High School in Frankfurt, New York, just outside of Utica. And it was a random Thursday afternoon. The regular not ring announcer, I'm so used to saying that, but the usual announcer couldn't make it for whatever reason. And guidance counselor gets on the microphone and says, hey, we need an announcer. Who wants to do it? And a friend of mine volunteered me without me knowing it. And I took the microphone, and the rest is history. As far as wrestling goes, I mean, I grew up a wrestling fan. There's no question about it. I am an unapologetic wrestling fan. Grew up a fan, and I always wanted to be a part of the industry. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with the physical attributes of, say, a Batista, Triple H. I'm Italian, so I'm not very tall. I'm not as big as those guys, but I always wanted to be a part of the industry. And finally, in 2004, I actually went to a wrestling school in the UK when I was stationed there in the Air Force. And I started learning about the business, not just what goes on in the ring, but I wanted to learn everything that happened behind the scenes. So I learned about running guerrilla, running a match, and all this other stuff. Then when I got out of the military, I wanted to get back into the wrestling industry again because, I mean, when you're in the military, you travel all over the place and you can't really find a spot in one place. So it was tough for me to get ingrained anywhere with wrestling. But I finally got back into professional wrestling 2016, 2017 with The Dynasty, who have a show coming up February 17th, by the way. Don't forget about that in Albany. I got involved with them, started doing some backstage work, backstage interviews, and I just made my way to the wrestling ring, and it's been it's been a nonstop whirlwind ever since.
Yeah. Did you speak of Dynasty? Is that the one with Joey Conway and Jay Lethal on that show? Or
It is, and I got to tell you what, Joey Conway. I saw the ad at the very beginning with Joey Conway at the Heart Attack event. I got to tell you what, Joey Conway is one hell of a talent. He's an awesome talent, amazing guy. He's got a brilliant future ahead of him, and I hope that the right folks in the right companies are watching this guy because he's going places.
Definitely, dude. I just see him on that microphone, like usually, and on the independent scene, and he's got it. He's so into his character. You know what I mean? So
that Jay Lethal guy, he's got a pretty good future ahead of him too. I really hope.
Definitely, that Jay Lethal guy definitely has.
he's got something, kid. I'll tell you what.
He's got that. He's one of those youngins right there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Jay Lethal's a vet right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no question. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the last Dynasty show I did, which was 2 shows ago. Great guy to talk to. Great, very big wealth of information. If anybody ever has the chance to work a show with Jay Lethal, sit down, pick his brain. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge and just a good guy all around.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So who has been some of your inspirations to become a ring announcer, you'd say, like, because there's just so many great ones as Howard Finkel out there. Yeah. Who are some of yours?
My biggest inspiration, obviously, is Howard Finkel. No question about it. I remember.
Wow, I actually hit them on the head. I was giving like maybe an example for, you know what I mean, but that you hit it right on the head right there.
Oh no, he is. I mean, if you're a professional wrestling ring announcer or you're aspiring to be a professional wrestling ring announcer, and Howard Finkel is not in your Mount Rushmore, then you need to find another. You need to find another line of work, in my opinion.
The kid just popped up behind.
Yeah. There she is. She actually just left. No, Howard Finkel was my number one guy, and he always will be my number one guy. I'm not ashamed to say it. And I look at inspiration from different places. It's not just Howard Finkel, but it's also Gene Okerlund. I loved watching Gene Okerlund. When I was a kid, he was Mean Gene. But then as I got older and I started learning more about broadcasting, and I'm a news producer by trade. That's what I did in the military. That's what I did outside of the military. So I was able to kind of look at what Mean Gene did and what he said and the way he presented himself from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And I got to learn a lot about Mean Gene and how he presented whatever it was he was presenting. But you also have guys, I mean, the obvious ones are Michael Buffer, Bruce Buffer.
I was just about to say that one. Yeah.
Michael Buffer, Bruce Buffer, guys like Jimmy Lennon Jr., even his father, Jimmy Lennon Sr. If you've never seen these guys ring announce, phenomenal work. And then you have other guys like Lupe Contreras, who's one of the great ring announcers in boxing. The Flores brothers are great. There's a gentleman out in Arizona. His name is Ralph Velez Jr. He's a fantastic ring announcer. My friend Christian down in Texas, fantastic ring announcer. I take inspiration from all these guys. I take it wherever I can get it. But my number one inspirations, obviously Howard Finkel, Michael Buffer, even to a point, Bruce Buffer. But I like to study other ring announcers. Excuse me. I like to study ring announcers from various places, mixed martial arts, kickboxing, traditional boxing, professional wrestling. Justin Roberts is one of my favorite guys. I love watching Justin. Samantha Irvin is doing phenomenal work with the WWE.
Chelsea Green.
Yeah, that's correct. Another one that I really enjoy listening to, her name is Lenny Hart. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but if you've ever watched any Japanese wrestling or even Japanese mixed martial arts, you've heard her voice. If you haven't, Get online and look her up. She is phenomenal. She is a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, Mike Falvo should be in that conversation, and so should Ryan Peterson is another one.
I'm not there yet. I'm working it. I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping to one day be in that conversation. Ryan is a great guy too. Ryan is a great guy. I got to tell you a funny story about Ryan. I've only met Ryan once. And the first thing I said to him was, "You are a lot taller than I thought you would be." And he is. Ryan's a really good guy. I really like Ryan. I've never had the chance to work with him. Like I said, we've only met like once. But he's a great guy, and I really like Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And not only that, it's like he's not really a ring announcer, but someone who's a really great announcer. Bob Shepard is a legendary,
no question,
one of the legendary New York Yankees, right there. You know?
Not a question. Not a question. I mean, the term "voice of God" came from Bob Shepard, or well, it originated with Bob Shepard, I should say.
All right, we got a question. It's like, and the public address announcers who do the NBA, especially for Nets and the New York Knicks.
Funny story about the PA announcer for the New York Knicks. And it drives me. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's been a PA announcer with them so long. If you ever go to a Knicks game live, the way he announces a three-pointer is the same way he announced it when they first instituted the three-point line in the NBA. That's how long he's been there.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kept it the same way so long.
He said he believes he's the dude who also does it for boxing events and Barclays Center.
Yes,
does it for the Nets. So
his name is Dave Diamante. He's no longer. I don't believe he's the announcer for the Nets anymore. I could be wrong, but I know Dave Diamante. I don't know him personally, but Dave is another one. He's traveling all over the world. He's traveled all over the world. He does a lot of work in the UK. He's announced some of the biggest fights on the planet. If you've never seen him, he's got long dreadlocks. You know, really, from what I understand, he's a really nice guy, but a phenomenal ring announcer, and he's definitely somebody that I like to study.
Definitely, man, definitely. So I that's like, yeah. So did you ever learn, like, working with these ring announcers? Have you ever learned from? What's like the biggest thing you'd say you learned from them?
Be myself.
Be
yourself. Just be myself. One of the biggest things that I learned, and that's something, sometimes you learn things the hard way. When you get into announcing, or even this is something that I would impart on reporters in the news industry, when they're not feeling unsure of themselves, or they're still trying to find their voice when it comes to presenting whatever it is they're presenting, they try too hard to sound like somebody else. Mm-hmm. And number one, the fans are going to know it, and you're automatically going to be tagged as a so-and-so knockoff, or this, that, and the other. And my advice to, young ring announcers, or really anybody, is just find your own voice. Be yourself. When you get in the ring, smile, look like you want to be there, but give the introductions as yourself. Don't try to sound like Bruce Buffer. Don't try to sound like Michael Buffer. Just be yourself. That's the best piece of advice I was ever given.
Yeah. So like when I listen to you and I listen to someone like Ryan Peterson, I hear two different people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome, because you're your own person.
Mm-hmm.
And you're putting, like, because a lot of people just want to, like, say, compare other ring announcers, but like you and Ryan and Samantha Irvin, all three different types of ring announcers.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's what makes an announcer good, is that you'll be able to differentiate that person. Like, you'll be able to differentiate Michael Buffer from a Jimmy Lennon Jr. No mm-hmm. question. And there are a lot of, there are some young announcers who go in there with the mindset of, I want to be the next so-and-so, Michael Buffer or whomever. Don't try to be the next someone else. Be the first you. That's the best thing I can say. Be the first you.
Exactly. What type of preparation you would say for you goes into ring announcing for an event?
It depends on the event. I'm lucky enough where some of the boxing promotions that I've worked with, when you get to the venue, they'll have your fight sheet all ready for you. And it has their important information, what gym they fight out of, their hometown, their weight, things like that. But then again, there's also sometimes when I have to take that information, I write it down on cards. I do a little bit of research on some of the fighters as well, just to get a good background of where they come from. But also, it can go into how I announce them. So if
Mhm.
somebody's an Olympic gold medalist or an Olympic, they were a part of the Olympic team, I add that to my intro. With a fight record of 10 wins and 5 losses. He's a former, 2012 Olympian, and he finished with a silver medal. And here he is, Joe Smith or whomever. But as far as ring announcing goes, prep is really a matter of getting the basic information that you need, confirming that information, and finding the best way to deliver it. And, that's where feeding off of the crowd comes in, feeding off of the energy within the room comes in. But as far as basic preparation goes, it's really just making sure you have the basic information, making sure it's all correct. And then you go from there, and then you get any other information from the promoter you need.
Yeah. Have you ever had any like unexpected moments while during ring announcing?
Oh, yes, I have. I've had a few. There was one instance, as a matter of fact, I was working a Cage Wars event up here in Schenectady, and it was a situation where I had to use the little announcer's room, and it couldn't wait. The
Oh my God.
fight had just started, and I said to one of the other commentators, I said, "Man, I really got to go use the men's room. I really got to go." He goes, "All right, go quick." So I go quick, and not 3 seconds after I walk out, there was a knockout in the cage, and I had to turn right back around and go back to doing whatever it was I had to do. And that was it for the rest of the night. I didn't go anywhere for the rest of the night.
You're probably like, son of a bitch, man.
Oh, yeah.
You guys can't wait like 2 minutes, man. Right?
You couldn't knock him out in a second. You had to do it now.
Do you think that was more of a rib on you? In other words, because he's like, yeah, he's got to go to the bathroom. Let's make this real quick.
Yeah, I like to think it was. I've had some information be like information that was given to me from another promoter or from somebody else be incorrect as I'm announcing it. And then there's been a couple instances where I'm looking at the information and I read it, and you can just tell. You look at the fighter and they just look at you and start shaking their head, and you're like, son of a. And I go back to the promoter. I'm like, hey, this was incorrect. And they're like, oh yeah, that was our fault. Sorry. And you just roll with it, really. A situation like that comes along, you just, like the saying goes, you roll with the punches and on with the next.
Sometimes you just gotta know your shit, is what you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
true. That's true.
It's like,
That is
wait,
true.
This is not right.
This is true. And there have been instances where if it's a new fighter, because a lot of the fighters that I work with up here in the Capital Region, MMA fighters, a lot of them that I work with, I know pretty well. So I know what gym they're from, and really the only thing that changes is their weight. So a lot of the newer fighters, I'll pull them aside and say, hey, I want to make sure all your information is correct. What's your hometown? Where are you fighting out of? Do you have any nicknames I need to know about? Any changes I need to know about? I've had a guy tell me in the cage seconds before I'm announcing him, hey, my nickname is different. I'm this now. And I'm like, okay, did you just come up with that? Or why couldn't you tell me that yesterday or the day before,
Exactly. So what kind of hold on.
Yep.
How do you handle the pressure of live events while keeping the crowd engaged?
Really, you just focus on the job at hand. You focus on the job at hand. A lot of people, and I joke with a lot of people, I say, they just pay me to say the names. And, that's kind of a joking thing that I say, but it's not true. There's so much more that goes into it. Anybody that's done any sort of public speaking knows that once you get the first sentence or the first few words out, it's, the nervousness is gone. And that's the truth. Once you get started, you just start rolling with what you're saying, and you just start getting in the groove, and then you move on. You just start going from there, and then you feel the energy of the crowd as the night goes on. And you can tell when the crowd is really pumped, when they're starting to die out, when they're getting tired. And then you have to be able to get that crowd back up, get the energy back up as much as you can. But ultimately, it's, if the crowd is not responding, then you can only do so much. But, you just got to you just got to roll with it. But the pressure for me at this point is not as much as it was when I first started, because now I'm more comfortable being in the cage, being in the ring, being, courtside at a basketball game. So it's just something that comes with time, but really you just handle the pressure the same way you would if you're up there giving a book report in school. You just take a deep breath, start talking, and it all goes from there.
Yeah. Do you do anything before you have to get out there and start like your preparation?
I like
like energy drink. Did you drink? Something to get you hyped up before a show.
Plenty of water. I'll do a 5-hour energy shot beforehand. Then plenty of water. But other than that, I'll find a quiet spot. I'll go sit down for a minute, just kind of look over what I got to do, get myself mentally prepared for standing in front of, for an MMA crowd. We're looking at 600, 700, 800 people. If I'm announcing a basketball game, it's 3,000-4,000 people. Box lacrosse at the MVP, 4,000 to 5,000. You just got to take a minute, get yourself together, and go to work.
Exactly. So because that's the one thing I would like to ask is like, because it's just like what is like the strategy before like the preparation, but you said take an energy shot and just drink some water. So
take an energy shot, drink some water, take a deep breath, get yourself ready for what's coming, and then you go out and you do the job, do the business.
What advice would you give for someone to become a ring announcer?
Like I said a few minutes ago, be yourself.
Be yourself.
Be yourself. Get up there, have fun. Be yourself and have fun. Sure, the first few times you do it, it's going to be nerve-wracking, especially if you're not very good with public speaking, but just be yourself, get up there and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody that wants to be a ring announcer, you have to be able to put yourself out there in front of however many people you're going to be working in front of. For some independent wrestling shows, it may be 100, 200 people. I mean, who was it? WrestleCuse just this last weekend had an amazing crowd. I don't know if you saw that. They had an amazing crowd. They were up in Syracuse. I think it was 1,400 was the number they brought in. But you get yourself up there and you just get ready and you go for it. For young ring announcers, a few things to remember is, one, be prepared. Always come ready to work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't show up with nothing in hand and saying, okay, where's all my stuff now? Try to get as much research done as you can. Do a little bit of research on the people you're going to be working with, fighters, MMA fighters, professional wrestlers, or whatever. Chat with them, get to know them, kind of figure out, is there a certain way you want me to announce you? Do you not want me to say this? What is your nickname? Things like that. The best advice I can give a young ring announcer is be yourself.
Be yourself.
Just be yourself. Get up there, have fun, look the part. That's a very big thing for me, is getting up there, looking professional, making sure you look like you know what you're doing. You should know what you're doing if you're getting in a ring with a microphone, because you're representing not only the company, but yourself.
Exactly. So how did the MLW deal come about? Because I just saw that on your Instagram page, that you work at MLW. How'd that deal come about?
I had sent them a number of booking. They have a section on their webpage for booking inquiries, and I just kept sending messages. Honestly, like every month or couple of months, I would send a message. Hey, if there's anything coming up, I'm available. Let me know. I would send them clips of anything that I had done, whether it be MMA, professional wrestling, and so on. And honestly, one day I got a text asking if I was available on a certain date. And I said, yes. And that was one of those situations where even if I'm not, I will make myself available. And I went down there and I met the team, and it was a great experience. It was the first time that I had really worked a professional wrestling show at that level. So I got to see a different side of everything, and it was such an amazing learning experience.
Yeah, that's just so awesome, man. Because and you got to introduce the War Chamber, which was even more awesome.
That was a trip. I'm not gonna lie. It was really cool for a couple of reasons. Number one, watching them set up the cage was super cool for me as a fan. Because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking back to the old big rusty blue cage in the WWE. I know it wasn't rusty, but the big blue cage they used to have, and it was just really cool to see how it all came together from behind the scenes. I'm a nerd like that, I guess. And but it was even cooler standing in the middle of that thing, because you look around and you realize I'm in a steel cage with barbed wire on the top. There's a baseball bat hanging from the side, and there's that. Okay, perfectly normal. This is fine. The other coolest part was when the night started, I got in the ring and I was getting ready to start the show, and I look over in the crowd and Vlad was there.
Oh, Vlad, that's awesome.
Vlad
dude.
was there.
The Mike Johnson Vlad, right?
Right. Yeah. The WWE superfan Vlad, he was there, and I got going, and about 2 or 3 matches in, I was in there and I look over and I just caught him smiling, and we made eye contact really quick, and he just gave me one of these. And I was like,
yes,
I've made it. If I got Vlad's thumbs up, then, I've made it. No, working with MLW was an amazing experience. I really hope to be back there sometime soon. It was such a great learning experience, and everybody there was great. Everybody there was so great and kind, and I really hope to be back soon.
Yeah. What would you say the biggest piece of advice you learned from working for a big company like MLW is?
The biggest advice that I learned is really to just be prepared for anything. It was the first time that I had worked with a producer in my ear. I had a little earpiece, because normally whenever I do an MMA show or a boxing show, the producer will literally stand ringside and tell me, okay, let's introduce the next fighters. Let's do this and that. So it was interesting taking instructions from an earpiece, because you have to really pay attention to what's going on, in your ear, as opposed to with all the lights and the music and everything else going on. It started rough. I'll be 100% honest with you, but after a while you get used to it and you start expecting it. And then you really start to get in the groove of things. But the biggest thing that I learned was really just, that is when you have to really be on your game. That is when you really have to be on your game in so many ways.
Because MLW is like one of the top companies in New York.
Right. They are. And I'll tell you what, the folks there are, and I mean this in the best possible way. They're demanding, and for good reason. They have a great product. They have to put out great production, and they want to make sure that they're putting out the best production possible.
Definitely. Let's just get to some questions. Comments before we look at the guys on WFN. Evan Roberts, 40 years, awesome dude. Met him a bunch of times. The dude's dedicated, energetic. That's my ultimate dream, to do something like that. And he's a diehard fan himself. And he said this is probably a top 5 show. And he says you're an interesting dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I agree with a lot what he's saying, especially since just be yourself. Good advice for people who have a desire to. And
yep, that is 100% true.
What about the ring announcer that did the NXT event on Sunday or something like that? JoJo, Bray's wife, when she did it. Or Brandy Rhodes, a legend like Lillian Garcia, who's very talented. Last question before I go watch the New York Knicks game.
Oh, come on. You can't miss the Knicks game.
But yeah.
Alicia Taylor at NXT, she is a fantastic ring announcer. A lot of people, she has a music background. She actually plays drums. If you've never seen her on social media play drums, you got to go watch it. She's fantastic. The one thing a lot of folks don't realize is, folks like Samantha Irvin is an amazing singer. She was on The Voice, I believe, or American Idol, one of those shows.
Wow.
She's a fantastic singer, and that's actually helped her with her ring announcing, because if you're a good singer, you probably have a one-up on other folks, because it teaches you to control your breathing, control your voice, to control how you use your voice. Somebody like Lillian Garcia, who in my opinion is on my Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling ring announcers.
Definitely. She's amazing. Amazing voice, especially when she sings the national anthem and everything. So
she is the same way. She can control her breathing. She can control her voice. Those are things that she can easily control. So it translates well into professional wrestling. And there's my kiddo. She's over here.
I see it.
Strawberry milkshake.
I'll try some later, honey. Thank you. sharing a strawberry milkshake
On air, right?
on the air.
My mom made
So, like Lillian Garcia, Alicia Taylor does a phenomenal job at NXT. I really like listening to her. JoJo did a great job when she had her short run in WWE. You look at a lot of the female ring announcers, even TNA just hired a female ring announcer.
Sam Laterna.
Yes. No, Sam Laterna is a different. She does ring announcing. She does a lot of like backstage interview. That's another one.
She does commentary.
Right? Sam is another amazing talent. She's got a rocket strapped to her back and she's headed straight for the moon. And there's no question in my mind she's going to be a major player in this industry in some time. I mean, she's a player now. She's a major player in the industry now, but there's no question in my mind that there is one of those bigger companies that is just ready and waiting for her to step up. And, she's doing a lot of great work in TNA now and she's absolutely killing it.
Yeah. Well, this is my last question.
Sure.
How has the role of announcing evolved over the years, particularly with the rise of digital media and social platforms?
Ring announcing has evolved so much because if you go back and you look at a lot of the events that happened maybe 20 years ago, and I'll use events like Mike Tyson fights, we'll say in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, the ring announcer got in the ring, announced the fighters, and they disappeared. You never saw him again. Maybe you would see him in a commercial. I know Michael Buffer was when, Let's Get Ready to Rumble was the big thing. And he was the most popular guy on the planet. And he still is the most popular ring announcer on the planet. But when he got in the ring, he got in, he did what he did, and he does it extremely well. And he disappeared. And that's kind of how I like to be. But ring announcing now has become, in my opinion, you see a lot of ring announcers that are trying to set themselves apart by playing a gimmick or doing something outlandish that will get them the notoriety of a promoter or whatever. I look at it more very traditional. If you've ever seen a lot of my photos, I wear straight colors. Black is my favorite color. So I wear black, a lot of neutral colors. I don't really like my jackets to stand out too much because then, in my opinion, you're taking away from the fighters. It's not about me. It's about them. It's about the guys in the red and blue corner, the guys coming down the aisle or whatever. But I try to I hate to say put on a show because I'm really there to inform the crowd of what's going on. You are
part of the show, though. You are part of the show.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. You are a talent as well. So,
Oh yeah, there's absolutely no question about that. But I believe that there's a line that a ring announcer should stay behind, and this is just me. I know some ring announcers that wear the bright sequin jackets and they do big performances and types, and and in my eyes, if that works for them, that's fantastic. That's great. Keep doing what you're doing. I tend to keep it more traditional. I get in there, I give it my all, and then I step out of the ring, and then I let the guys or, the men or the women that are getting in there to do battle, I let them do their thing. I actually had a friend tell me that ring announcer is like the appetizer before the entree. I'm there to kind of tease the crowd with what they're about to see, and then the fighters go in there and do battle.
Exactly. You're the guy that has to hype up that crowd right there.
Exactly.
Get them all excited, and then when they're excited, you let the wrestlers or fighters just take stage, and that's it. Or
exactly.
So, a ring announcer is pretty much the biggest part. Pretty much, in my opinion, the biggest part of the event because they're the ones that could determine if the show is going to be good or if it's going to be bad, because you're that guy that has to say, okay, we got to hype this crowd up, and once we get them excited, we got them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's your job. So that's why I say you're the biggest part of that event.
Absolutely. We are a part of the event. We're just a piece of the machine, so to speak. But yeah, the ring announcer is one of, in my opinion, the most important parts because they're the one you see the most often. You're the one that is in the ring every, 10 minutes or so for, mixed martial arts events. A lot of them are 3 rounds, 4 rounds. Boxing, you get 10 rounds, 12 rounds, but they're the one that you see the most. You see them at the beginning of the night, throughout the evening before matches, and then you see them at the end of the night. So, you have to be able to get in there and really just do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, like I said a few minutes ago, you're representing yourself and you're representing the company and you're representing the promoter as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So before we go, Mike, do you have anything? Do you have anything coming up?
I got a lot of stuff coming up, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Plug away right now. Plug away.
Okay, let's see. This Thursday morning, I'm at UAlbany. I'm calling the women's basketball game. They do an education day where they have busloads of kids from all the local schools are going to come in and they're going to watch the game, and the coaches are going to get up and give a little presentation for the kiddos before the game. This is actually the first time I've been able to announce an education day, so I'm looking forward to being in a gymnasium of about 3,000 children. That's going to be fun. Then later on that day, I've got weigh-ins for Cage Wars 64, which is this Friday. It's Schenectady at the Rivers Casino. I'll be in the cage for that. Then Saturday morning, I'm on a plane to Miami to work my first M&R Promotions event down at I'm going to try to say this the right way, Miccosukee Casino and Resort in Miami, Florida. I've had the pleasure of working with, two amazing guys that run Box Lab Promotions. If you've never seen them, look them up, look online. They're a great group of guys. Amari Piedra and his team put on an amazing set of fights down there at the Caribe Royale in Orlando. Beautiful resort. But I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of promoters down there. And, this will be my fourth or fifth time flying down to Florida to announce boxing. So I have that coming up on Saturday. And then the 17th, I'll be at the MVP Arena for the Albany Firewolves of the National Lacrosse League. And if you have never seen box lacrosse, I don't know if you've seen it or not.
No, I have not.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's lacrosse, but it's on a hockey rink. It's indoor lacrosse. It's the fastest sport. Oh, get online. I'm telling you, get online and look up Albany Firewolves goalie fight.
I just started playing pickleball, to be honest with you. So I'm starting to learn that game. So now what's it called? I'm sorry. What's
box lacrosse?
Box lacrosse. So
it's lacrosse. But it's indoors. And it goes back to, the days when it was a Native American sport and they wanted to play all year round. So what they did is they built, these buildings and they could play indoors, and it was like being in a box, so like box lacrosse.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. I gotta look this up now.
You definitely should. It's very fast. It's very physical. Very physical.
All right. So one more thing. All right.
Yes.
Where could people find you if they want to book you or if they want to talk to you on social media?
They can find me at Mike A. Falvo. That's across all social media, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not very active on Twitter. I don't know. Twitter is kind of a hellscape lately, so I just kind of try to avoid it. And TikTok. It's the same all across all social media, and my kiddos back there regaling us with songs. But that's where they can find me. Feel free to drop me a message. I like chatting with folks, so drop me a message and we can chat and go from there.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, Mike. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So when we leave this podcast, we put our metal hands up, and we will see you guys in the next one.